Rain pounded furiously against the windshield, a steady rhythm of warning as Derek Williams drove along the lonely Alabama back road. Midnight had turned the world into a blur of shadows and water. For most, this was a road to avoid, rural, silent, and heavy with history that made a black man alone feel unwelcome. But for Derek, it was routine. He knew these roads better than anyone. They were part of his delivery route. Still, something about the flashing lights up ahead made his pulse quicken. He slowed his truck, eyes narrowing through the downpour. A police cruiser lay overturned on the shoulder, smoke curling from under the hood. Derek's gut clenched. He stopped, threw open the door, and sprinted into the rain. Inside the crushed car was a young blonde officer, blood streaking down her face. Her name tag read Officer Jennifer Hayes. "Help, please," she whispered weakly as her head lolled to the side. Derek froze for a split second. Every instinct screamed that he should walk away. A black man, alone, found beside a bleeding white police officer in the dead of night. He knew exactly how that looked. But she was fading fast, her uniform darkening with blood. Fear or not, Derek couldn't leave her. "Stay with me," he said, tearing his shirt and pressing it against her wound. His hands moved with uncanny precision, checking her pulse, monitoring her breathing, scanning for other injuries. Not the actions of a delivery driver. Jennifer's eyelids fluttered. "Do you know what you're doing?" "Let's just say I've seen worse," Derek muttered, working steadily. His phone had no signal. There was no time to wait for help. Lifting her from the wreck, he carried her to his truck, keeping pressure on the wound as he drove through the storm one-handed. Why are you helping me?" she asked faintly from the seat beside him. He hesitated before answering. "Because it's the right thing to do." 20 minutes later, Derek burst through the doors of Regional Hospital, shouting for help. "Officer down. Gunshot wound. Possible internal bleeding." The nurses rushed her onto a stretcher. Derek stood there, drenched and shaking, covered in her blood. For the first time, he allowed himself to exhale. Hours passed. When Captain Robert Hayes stormed into the hospital, his expression was fury wrapped in fear. Seeing Derek, a tall black man, bloodstained, sitting in the waiting room ignited all his worst assumptions. "You brought my daughter in?" He barked. "Yes, sir. I found her on—" "I don't care where," Hayes snapped. "I want to know why a man like you was on that road at midnight." There it was, the accusation beneath the words. Derek met his glare calmly. "I'm a delivery driver. My route passes there. I have the paperwork if you need it." Hayes didn't reply. He turned away, suspicion etched deep into his face. For the next 3 days, Derek was interrogated again and again. The questions were always the same, thinly veiled hostility beneath a veneer of procedure. "How did you know how to treat those wounds?" "Why that road?" "Did you know my daughter?" Through it all, Derek remained composed. He'd been under worse pressure before. Battlefields in Kandahar, nights when every second mattered. Because what Captain Hayes didn't know was that Derek Williams had been a Marine combat medic, 8 years in service, 3 with Special Forces. Saving lives was second nature to him. But prejudice, Derek knew, was a wound that healed slower than any bullet. When Jennifer finally recovered, she insisted on meeting him. She found him waiting outside the police station, quietly loading his truck. "Derek," she said softly, "I know my father's been hard on you. I'm sorry. You saved me, and he treats you like a criminal." Derek smiled faintly. "It's not the first time." "Won't be the last." She tilted her head, studying him. "Where did you learn all that medical stuff?" "You're no ordinary delivery man." He hesitated, then sighed. 8 years in the Marines. Combat medic. Last 3 with Special Forces." Her eyes widened. "Then why didn't you tell my father?" "Because to him," Derek said quietly, "a black ex-soldier trained to fight is more threatening than a black man with no past at all." Jennifer looked down, realizing how true that was. "That's awful, but he's going to find out anyway." She was right. And when Hayes did find out, he twisted the truth. Instead of honoring Derek's service, he used it to fuel his suspicions. Soon, whispers spread across town that the black veteran had staged the rescue himself, that he'd been seen following Jennifer. The man who saved a life was now painted as a stalker. Derek endured it silently until Jennifer called him one night. "Derek, I need to see you." "It's about my father." At a quiet cafe, she slid her phone across the table. "I recorded something the night of the ambush," she said. "Listen." The distorted audio revealed several men discussing teaching the officer a lesson. Among them, a voice Derek instantly recognized, Detective Tom Bradley, Captain Hayes' most trusted partner. Does your father know? Derek asked. Jennifer shook her head. He'd never believe it. Then we'll make him. Over the next few days, Derek's old instincts kicked in. Surveillance, analysis, infiltration, skills he hadn't used since the Marines. He followed Bradley, documenting his meetings with a construction mogul, a city advisor, and a campaign donor, all tied to the same crooked municipal contracts Jennifer had been investigating before she was attacked. When he finally caught them on tape admitting to both the ambush and a planned second attack, Derek knew what to do. He edited the recordings, compiled the evidence, and prepared for the confrontation. On Monday morning, Derek walked into the police station carrying a leather briefcase. Officers stopped talking as he passed, eyes full of suspicion. He found Captain Hayes in the hallway. I told you to stay away from my daughter, Hayes growled. Then you'll want to hear this, Derek said, pressing play on his recorder. Bradley's voice filled the corridor. On Monday, I'll suggest to Hayes that he transfer his daughter to night patrol, isolated, vulnerable. This time, no witnesses. The blood drained from Hayes' face. What is this? Your detective, Derek replied steadily, confessing to orchestrating your daughter's ambush and planning the next one. He opened his briefcase, revealing documents, photos, and ledgers, along with proof that he's tied to every dirty contract she was investigating. For a long, stunned moment, the captain just stared. The truth was undeniable. Bradley's betrayal, the corruption, the danger his own prejudice had blinded him to, it was all there, laid bare by the very man he'd accused. When Jennifer entered the station moments later, Hayes turned to her, voice shaking. I owe you both an apology. Derek gave a small nod. Just do what's right, Captain. That's all the apology I need. That evening, Bradley and his associates were arrested. The scandal tore through the department, exposing years of corruption. And as the sun rose over the small Alabama town, Derek Williams, once the suspect, now the hero, drove his truck down the same quiet road where it all began. The rain had stopped, and for the first time in a long while, the road ahead looked clear.